Now, I have to say that outerwear is probably one of my favorite things to find at the thrift store. It's also just my favorite thing to have in my wardrobe in general. What is up, everybody? My name is Jessica from Etta Jane's Vintage, and here on this channel we like to focus on thrifting, vintage, sustainable fashion with a little bit of random content in between. If that's something that you're interested in, you've definitely come to the right place. And let me just say, if you are new here, welcome, and if you have been here before, welcome back. Before we jump into the video, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. If you read the title for today's video, you know that we're going to be focusing on the fall 2020 fashion trends. In particular, we're going to be looking at outerwear. If you watched my first video, you will know that this is a second part in the three-part series. In our first part, we looked at fall trends and focused on more like the outfit that we would want to wear and how we could thrift those. In this video, we're going to be focusing on outerwear, as I mentioned before. And then in the last part of this series, we're going to be looking at the menswear trends and how to style those using our thrifted pieces. Now, I have to say that outerwear is probably one of my favorite things to find at the thrift store. It's also just my favorite thing to have in my wardrobe in general. As most of you know, and you can tell from the shirt, of course, I'm from Detroit. So in Detroit, our winters are really cold, and that is one of the best things about fashion, is being able to bring out like your fur coats and your leathers when the weather drops in temperature. But now that I live in California and our weather is a little bit more mild, especially in the wintertime, I don't always have the option to wear all of my favorite pieces. Or, you know what, to be honest, I wear them and sometimes I just sweat when I wear them. But the thing is that while I'm wearing them, I'm still looking good, even if it is a little bit warm underneath that coat. Anyway, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 4 outerwear trends that I saw on the runway, and there were probably more than 4, but these are the 4 that were actually my favorite outerwear trends. So we're going to be looking at those. As I talk you through the 4 trends, I will of course be showing you some images here of what those trends look like, and then of course I'm going to be styling those trends up for you using some of my thrifted coats and jackets that I had either thrifted recently or things that I already had in my wardrobe that I've thrifted a while back. Let's get into the first trend. Just so you know, as I'm talking you through the trends, I also have my notebook here. Same notebook as last time, and I have some of them written out, so I might look down a little bit just so I can make sure that I don't miss anything as I'm going through these trends with you. So the first trend that we're going to be looking at is fur coats or fur accent pieces, because what would winter be without wearing a fur coat? In particular, on the runway this season, we've seen a lot of faux fur, so people are shifting from animal fur to more of a sustainable or vegan option, looking at the faux fur. So on the runway, we saw a lot of fur in neutral tones, also in whites and blacks. We've seen more trench coats with maybe a fur collar, but then we also have seen full-fledged fur coats from the top to the bottom and having a lot of cute little waist ties and that type of thing. Of course, is one of my favorite trends because I love fur and I love faux fur, and I do own a few faux fur pieces that I purchased from the thrift store over the years. So the way that I'm going to be styling this up for you is actually with this brown trench coat that I bought from the thrift store almost about 10 years ago. It might have even been longer than that. Now, this coat is one of my favorite coats. It has gotten a little bit tight because I have gained weight since 10 years ago. So it did fit a little bit better when I first got it, but I just can't give it up. Now this coat I really like because one, it has the leather accents, which we talked about in our previous video, how leather is big right now. And then it also has a faux fur collar, which fits in with the fur trend. The second trend that we're going to be styling up and talking about is the shearling as outerwear trend. Now this trend is funny to me because it makes me think about middle school in the early 2000s, where everyone was wearing those shearling coats really like big oversized and all these different colors. And shearling was a coat that I never had actually growing up, but I always wanted one. So to see this come back into trend was really interesting for me. I mean, you also might compare shearling to maybe something in the 70s, because shearling and shag was something that was really big back then. So this one was really funny when I saw this on the runway. Now with the shearling trend, you're gonna see this both as like linings and jackets. You also might see it as a collar or as a shearling trim. You also will see jackets that are like fully shearling, which is super cute. So the way that I styled this one, I have this brownish, tannish suede jacket, and it does have both a shearling lining, and then it also has a shearling collar. And I like to wear this one because when you cuff the sleeves, it will show some of that shearling detail. So that way it's not like head to toe shearling, but it is still giving you that shearling vibe with the collar and the cuff accents. I also really like this jacket because it has removable shoulder pads. So you can keep the shoulder pads in for like this super 80s look, super 80s vibe, or you can take the shoulder pads out to give it a little bit more of a relaxed feel. The third trend that we're going to talk about is the tassels and fringe trend. Now we saw this both on just our regular clothes on the runway, and then we saw this a lot in outerwear as well. I love a good piece with fringe and tassels, whether it be a handbag or a coat, a jean jacket, maybe pants. So anything with this tassel or fringe trend, I'm totally here for it. So I think the easiest way to thrift this trend would be to look for your 70s or like your Western style suede jackets with fringe and tassels on it. That's what I usually find when I'm thrifting, and actually that's the way I'm going to be styling it in the clip for you. On the runway we saw it a few different ways, and I'm popping up a few pictures here so you can see how folks styled it in the different runway shows for the fall and winter. For myself, I'm styling it using this blue suede fringe jacket that I actually got off Poshmark. So I know some people might not consider Poshmark thrifting, but it is secondhand, so it is still very sustainable and a lot cheaper than it would cost if I was going to like a name brand or even like a fast fashion brand. And it also is real suede, so I'm really excited about that. So I styled this up with the fringe jacket, and I went for more of kind of like a monochrome or like monotoned look. I don't know if that's what it's called. But anyway, I've styled it with a pair of blue trousers and these blue mules that I got from Topshop, I believe. The pants are thrifted. The jacket, of course, as I mentioned, is from Poshmark. So I really like the way I put together this blue look, and we all know that blue is a color for the fall, as we talked about in our first part of this trend series. So yes, this is how I styled the fringe trend, and this is how you can get that look without spending a lot of money. And the last trend that we're going to be talking about today is the colored leather trend. Now, leather is always something that comes back every fall and winter, and even falling into the spring. But this season is a little bit different because a lot of the fall and winter runway shows were focusing on colored leather. So we saw leather in a lot of different colors that we wouldn't normally see it in, especially a lot of vibrant colors. And that's something that I'm currently on the hunt for now, is leather in these like pinks and blues, greens, oranges. I recently purchased on Poshmark a pink Wilson's vintage leather jacket, and then also this like cognac color blazer. So if those come in before this video goes live, I'll be sure to pop some pictures in for you. If not, you'll probably be able to see me style them on my Instagram at some point. But the way that I'm styling this trend for you today, I'm actually styling it two different ways. So the first way that I'm styling it for you is with this green leather trench coat. Now I've had this trench coat for maybe about 3 or 4 years. I actually thrifted this from the Goodwill bins. So if you are an avid thrifter, you might know that Goodwill has outlet stores where a lot of the items that they don't sell in the store, they send them to this kind of like a warehouse. And it's a big warehouse with all these big blue bins with like tons and tons of clothes. and you just kind of pick through until you get stuff that you want, and when you purchase it, they weigh everything and that's how much you pay. So I would say with this jacket, I probably paid like $1 for this. And it was a little rusty, so I used some leather cleaner, actually some leather wipes, to kind of condition it and get it back to that green tone that it probably was closer to when it was originally made. So this jacket I love, and I was super excited to see that for the fall, color leather was coming back in style because this jacket fit right into that trend. The second way that I'm styling this trend for you is with this almost like a burnt orange color leather trench. This is also by the brand Wilson's, and I purchased this coat maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago. This one I think I paid like 20 bucks for, but it definitely was worth it. It is in great condition. It fits directly into the trend. It's vintage, so you know it's really good quality because it stood the test of time. It's lasted this long. There weren't any like dents or nicks or anything in there. So I was super excited to find this one. So this was definitely an awesome find. So that was the last outerwear trend that we're going to talk about today. This was a super quick one. As I mentioned, there were only 4 trends that I wanted to talk about, but I hope you definitely got some inspiration from the trends that you saw and some of the pieces that I have in my own closet to show that you can pick up some of those same things or similar items if you just keep a good eye out. Also check the online sites like Poshmark, ThredUp, OfferUp, eBay, even maybe Facebook Marketplace, because some people, you know, COVID's still going on. You might not really want to go into a thrift store and shop, but you do still want to get some of these trends. So check some of the online sites and I guarantee you'll find some of those pieces. And don't forget to watch part 3 of this series, where we're going to be looking at the men's trends from the fall winter 2020 fashion shows. And if you haven't watched part 1 of this series, make sure to watch that as well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up and be sure to share it with some people that you love. I will see you all in the next video. Until next time, bye.